Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.
It is My Nerd World. Welcome to it. Welcome to 2024. And I'm your host, Jon Justice, where we talk about all things the greatest band on the planet, Depeche Mode. I hope that you had a fantastic holiday, Christmas, and New Year's as we head into this new year, and hopefully we'll be hearing some new music very soon. Now, granted, there's not a lot of information going on right now relating to the band. They're currently on break. They will be heading back out on tour for the final leg of the Memento Mori tour here very soon. I'll have a little bit of details on that and some sad news for some friends of the show, and also some details, again, of when we could hear those 4 unreleased songs. But I wanted to make sure that I took a moment to say Happy New Year to you. Again, hope you had a great holiday, and let you know just what's going on in the world of Depeche Mode as we wait for the start of this next tour and what the new year can bring. As always, if you want to email, you can do that, talkshownerd@gmail.com. Thank you to you who wrote in over the holidays. I didn't grab all of the listener feedback. I received a lot of emails from friends of the show who just wanted to wish me a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So thank you to everybody who did email in. I grabbed a few of the emails, and we'll share those with listener feedback coming up here in just a moment. So in terms of news, let me give you the little bit of news that is out there from over the holidays. Both of the items here are coming from the @ultra_Depeche X account, and some information that I've received over the course of the past year, and we can kind of formulate what we can expect potentially in terms of new Depeche Mode releases coming in 2024. First off, though, it is official now. There is no South America, no Asia, or Australian shows on the Memento Mori tour. I know there was a lot of excitement about mid-year and the potential of dates in South America, Asia, and Australia, and many friends of the show hoping for those Australia dates because it's been so many decades since the band has been down to Australia. But unfortunately, the Depeche Mode Memento Mori tour will wrap up its final leg of the tour in Europe and will end in the Cologne Langness Arena on April 8th of this year. So that will be the final show. And we'll see whether or not this final leg of the tour brings about any set list changes. I know there's a lot of you that are hoping that we'll get a completely revamped set list. My guess is probably not going to happen. The band certainly has hit a stride with this tour, and they've had this holiday break. Maybe the potential of some of those songs that we know have been rehearsed, and I think the one that everybody is hoping ends up on the set list being Before We Drown. At this moment, though, any expectation that I had potentially of the tour set list changing dramatically, I don't think it's going to happen, apart from maybe some more of Martin's solo songs, and again, the inclusion of a few of those tracks that could replace some of those tracks that have sort of rotated in and out of the set, whether it's Black Celebration, Policy of Truth, Speak to Me, My Favorite Stranger, and again, the inclusion of tracks that we know were rehearsed but have not been performed on this tour. And I think part of the reason why it may not change is, one, what I mentioned, that the band has become very accustomed to playing this set, and it's proven to be a very effective set on the tour, but also with the pending release of the concert on physical media, I don't think the band's going to want to really go and switch up this part of this final leg of the tour, considering that more than likely the physical release will match what the current iteration of the tour set list has been. Now, I could be wrong. We have seen set list changes in the past, but you really have to go all the way. I mean, major set list changes in the past, but really you have to go all the way back to Songs of Faith and Devotion and the extended Exotic tour, when the band really stripped down the complicated Anton Corbijn set and changed up the set list quite a bit in the process. I think that was more of necessity because of the difficulty of continuing the tour based off of how complex Anton Corbijn's tour setup happened to be. So I'm not expecting any major changes, but hopefully some new surprises in this final leg of the Memento Mori tour. Now, let's move over to some items that we're waiting for that I thought were going to come out the end of the year but didn't, and what this could potentially mean. So the X account at ultra_Depeche that I mentioned a moment ago also posted this, and I had reported on this last year and had heard some rumblings and rumors, and I want to add a little bit to that. Depeche Mode has recorded 16 songs while working on Memento Mori. Only 12 of those tracks made it on to the 15th studio album. The remaining 4 songs will be released at some point this year of 2024. One of them with the, at least working title, I'm pretty sure it's the official title, of Life 2.0 that Martin had mentioned before. And I believe it was Martin who reiterated in a more recent interview that we would at some point get those 4 unreleased tracks. Now, I had heard rumblings of a potential box set that we could get before the end of the year. That obviously never came to fruition. We ended up being treated to the Strange and Strange 2 DVD Blu-ray release, but didn't see those 4 songs, and there was an expectation they might have been released at the end of the year. I think there's still a big possibility that we could end up with some type of box set with Memento Mori that would include those 4 unreleased songs, and maybe in conjunction with the physical release of the tour. It's an interesting time right now as it relates to physical media. I'm a big movie fan, moviephile, and I'm a big collector of physical media, and I've lamented on the show quite a bit my frustration that we don't get as many physical releases from Depeche that we did in years past, and times have changed, and I understand that with the proliferation of streaming, and that is certainly also changing physical media for movies as well. Now, we have seen some circumstances as of late. For example, Disney Plus and Lucasfilm have released some of their more popular Star Wars shows on Blu-ray, and some Marvel shows as well. That being said, DVDs and Blu-rays are slowly being phased out. Best Buy here in America announced recently that by 2025, I believe, they're going to stop selling Blu-rays and DVDs altogether. So if you are a collector of physical media and movies in general, I would definitely suggest that if there are films that you have not purchased on DVD or Blu-ray yet, get them while you can, because soon you won't be able to, or it'll be more difficult and more expensive to do so. I saw a recent posting saying that physical media is kind of going the way of vinyl in a certain extent, where it's going to become very, very pared down. And as we've mentioned, when it comes to the physical releases of Depeche Mode's singles, we just aren't getting those anymore, apart from the vinyl releases that cost quite a bit more money. So what does this have to do with these 4 unreleased songs, the box set, and the physical release of the concert? It would make sense to me to put it all into one package, and I had heard rumors of a box set last year, not in conjunction with the physical release, so we could end up getting both. But considering how physical releases are changing and the demand for them is dropping off, for a band like Depeche Mode and a concert release, a physical release makes more sense, unless they're going to go and attach themselves to a streaming platform. But that would have to be exclusive to that streaming platform and also limit the reach of Depeche Mode fans to be able to go and get that content. Now, I think from a revenue standpoint, it makes more sense to split those up. And you could even split them up, in 3 different ways. A box set, the 4 tracks as an EP, and a physical release. My expectation is, based off of some of the stuff that I've heard, is that we'll probably end up getting a physical release for the concert and a box set containing those 4 songs, perhaps in combination with the remixes released on a physical media format within that box set as well. Something similar to what we got with Sounds of the Universe, and to a lesser extent, the Spirit release. There is a suggestion from one of the friends of the show in the listener feedback that I'll share with you here in just a moment. I also think that, and I'm confident we're going to get some larger release, some sort of special edition for Memento Mori, because of the fact that we didn't get a box set with this and an extended release with the physical release of the album when it was initially released. So let me back up a little bit because I feel like I'm getting lost in my own words here. With the Spirit release, we ended up getting the disc that had the extra mixes on it. It was a definitive deluxe edition, something that we would expect. I've mentioned before, I was disappointed with the deluxe edition because we didn't get any additional music. My thought is it's because the band and the marketing team and the label weren't really sure how Memento Mori was going to be received, considering it had been such a long time since the band had released any music. And they really played it safe in releasing the album and just giving us the album and not a lot of bells and whistles surrounding it. We all get a lot of extra artwork, as I've mentioned before. However, the album has become a critical success. Financially, the tour has been a massive success. It would be foolish for the label, the marketing team, and the band itself to not go and capitalize on that. So, I think 2024 is going to sort of continue this Memento Mori era in a really exciting way where, you know, many of us, especially here in America, with the tour ending and heading overseas for the final leg, you kind of go, okay, well, this is sort of the end of this era, and who knows as it relates to the future of the band. But I really do think that 2024 is shaping up to be an extension of this Depeche Mode era that we're currently in, and certainly those 4 songs are going to be released at some point, and I'm sure you feel the same way that I do. I'm dying to hear what these songs sound like. Memento Mori has absolutely no burn for me at all. And it's really interesting to me how I get some distance from the album. I don't listen to it for a while. I listen to certain songs that are on playlists, but haven't really taken time to listen to the album front to back just because I've been listening to other music, and that just happens with any band's release. Going back and revisiting that album after hearing a plethora of other styles of music, and it still sounds so fresh and so unique and so different. There's a magic to this album. There's a magic to this band, and they continue to really transcend. Nobody sounds like them. And I'm sure there are fans of other artists out there that feel the same way that I do, that opine the same way that I do about their band. But I'd be more than happy to get into a debate. It's all subjective, but I would be more than happy to get into a debate on the uniqueness of Depeche Mode and how this band, after 40-some-odd years, has been able to maintain and retain that uniqueness even this far into their career. Memento Mori, in my opinion, really is a masterpiece. Is it as good of an album as Violator or Black Celebrations or Songs of Faith and Devotion, Music for the Masses? You could argue those points, but you can't take away, after all these years, what Martin and Dave and this production team were able to accomplish. And to wrap up this portion of the show before we get into listener feedback, I can't imagine they're not going to capitalize on that this year to take advantage of, and it is taking advantage of, right? The financial viability of this album, but also to reach out to the fans. They know how much the fans mean, how much the band means to the fans. Martin and Dave understand that. And I think on this tour more than ever, they received that love from us on this tour. That night when I saw them with Matt and his family in November, I'll never, ever forget. I have my my collage photograph with the Martin guitar pick attached to it. I got it sitting here right on my desk, and it was one of the best Depeche Mode live experiences that I've ever had. Attached to one of the best times and eras of Depeche Mode since going back to the Songs of Faith and Devotion period. I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. The rest of the world may fall apart, but Depeche Mode still rocks on. And that is a testament to just how special this band really is. All right, let's get to your listener feedback. All right, first we hear from Mike, also known as DJ Sparkle from San Francisco. Ran across a melodic techno-progressive house mix of all Depeche Mode. He mentions, I know you're not exactly into modern mixes of this genre, but try giving it a listen, maybe while you're taking a bike ride. Unfortunately, it's been too cold here in Minnesota as of late, even if we don't have any snow on the ground, to go and go for a bike ride. However, he goes on to say, it's quite a mix and extremely good. I thought I'd share it with you. Hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yeah, it's not, that techno-progressive house music was... I listened to, more back in the day in its heyday, but I did give that a bit of a listen, and it's all right. Listen, I'll always give Depeche Mode mixes a chance. And it's been really weird as of late, because on my YouTube channel, I've had just a ton of Depeche Mode remixes popping up, and I'm not 100% sure why the algorithm picked up on it, unless it's just picked up on my videos on YouTube as well. So I'll be honest with you, a lot of those mixes were not all that great. Next, we hear from a friend of the show, Javier Lopez, Performance Art and Multimedia, who says 4 songs might be a great beginning to a new album. A boy can hope. Happy New Year. Love your podcast. Yeah, I think we all kind of hope that there'll be a new album, right? At this point in time, I think they're going to have to take a break. This has been a long tour. The guys are getting up there in age, and they've really given it their all. I'll say what I've continued to say and what I said at the end of last year. I do not believe this is the end of the band by any stretch. What that means in the future of Depeche and another huge tour again, I'm going to keep my expectations really, really low on that front. But I do expect that perhaps we will get some new music sometime in the next year or so. If you heard that in the background a moment ago, I thought that my beloved dog Artemis was at the top of the stairs and she was whining at me because it seemed like every time I started talking, she was whining. And then I went upstairs to look, and it turned out that my wife Melinda was outside talking to a neighbor who was out walking their dog. So there you go. And now I'm out of breath because I had to run back downstairs. All right, we have one more listener feedback item to get to, and this comes from Andrea or Andrea. My apologies. I know some people pronounce it different ways. Who writes this: Merry Christmas to you and your family, and thank you for the podcast. I can't wait for the next show in London. I will be there. I hope this is not the end because I just can't get enough. I wish I was an earlier fan of this band. I missed so many things. Well, and Andrea, thank you, friend of the show, for the listener feedback. That's the great thing. And it's funny because while I'm going to choose my words carefully here. While I wouldn't change anything in terms of my fandom and how long I've been a fan of the band, it would be really cool to be somebody who just now found the band and then to go back and rediscover everything, because there's just so much that you could rediscover. So in that sense, enjoy the ride and going and finding all of those old classic hidden gems and articles and videos that you may not have seen before. I know what it was like for me when I found the band in, early 86, late 85, and then just going back the few years that they'd been around to find the imports surrounding those original releases. And so it would be really fun, even if you only now found the band, to be able to go and track down all those items that maybe you've never been exposed to before. Shorter show this week, but again, not a lot going on. I wanted to make sure I got a podcast out and just to wish everybody a Happy New Year as we kick off this continued era of Memento Mori. For those that have listened to the show before, thank you so much for checking it out. I hope wherever you are happy, you are healthy, and you are safe. If you are a new listener to the show and you enjoy reading science fiction, one way that you can support my nerd world and the podcast here with Depeche Mode is checking out my science fiction space opera series. I wrote it because of my love of Star Wars, and what started off as a bit of an experiment, could I craft my own space opera tale, turned into a 7-book series. Available now on Amazon or mynerdworld.net. If you like your science fiction to be epic, filled with romance and action, EMBARK is perfect for you. It's written for adults, but it is great for ages 11 plus. Set in the future, where air and space flight culture has replaced car culture, it is inspired in part by Depeche Mode, life in the so-called space age, the world we live in, and life in general. Depeche Mode plays a large part in the underlying themes of the story, and the main character himself is a massive Depeche Mode fan at a time in the future when the music of the 80s through the 2000s is nostalgic and popular among the characters of the story. They also feature references both direct and indirect to Depeche Mode while telling an exciting space opera adventure. Available in ebook, Kindle Unlimited if you subscribe to that, hardcover, paperback, and audiobook. And you can purchase hardcovers and paperbacks directly from me. Just email talkshownerd@gmail.com. Have yourself a fantastic week. Thank you so much for checking out the episode once again. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye.
Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is